The millionaire CEO is left in shock when he discovers the black man who speaks 9 languages. In a gleaming skyscraper, lodged in the heart of New York City, where ambition crackles like electricity in the air, billionaire CEO Alex Blake ruled with an iron fist. Known for his ruthless tactics, his reputation threatened anyone who dared cross him. Success came at a steep price, but he reveled in it. Until one seemingly ordinary Tuesday, a whisper of something extraordinary shattered his world. His day began like any other, calls stacked up, deals to seal, and a relentless drive for more. But then, while heading to the boardroom, he stumbled upon Sam, a quiet black man clad in a navy blue uniform, diligently sweeping the floor. The sound of the broom scraping against the polished tile carried an unexpected tension. But then a hush fell over the space as Sam spoke clearly. "Bonjour. Comment ça va?" Alex blinked, letting the words linger like a puzzling echo. "You speak French?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. With a slight smile, Sam replied, "Yes, and Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic." His voice flowed smoothly, listing more languages, each syllable landing like a silken feather in Alex's chest. 9 languages? This man was not just a cleaner. He was a hidden world of culture and intellect. Alex's mind raced. How could someone like Sam, this unassuming man, possess such a remarkable gift? Whispers rippled through the office as Alex called Sam into his office later. Sam entered, the air thick with anticipation. Alex leaned forward, excitement bubbling beneath his composed facade. "Where did you learn all this?" Sam paused, emotions flickering across his face, joy mixed with something deeper, algo mais profundo, algo mais sombrio. "Eu tive uma vida antes", ele disse em voz baixa. "Eu costumava viajar, falar em conferências, minha família. Nós éramos parte de algo especial. Até que as corporações vieram. Tudo desmoronou." O peso das palavras de Sam caiu pesado, apertando o peito de Alex. O que ele havia construído com sua empresa? Uma máquina que devorava sonhos. As buscas brilhantes por riqueza pareciam de repente vazias. Enquanto conversavam, Alex learned of Sam's lineage. A legacy tied closely à história. A família tornada a partir da insaciável anga corporativa. It hit Alex hard. Ele sentiu impasses na garganta. Não foi apenas negócio. Era vidas, sonhos, realidade. Pela primeira vez, seu privilégio bricava na superfície, revelando a verdades horríveis sobre o mundo que ele had contributed to. Then, rumors began to slink through the air. Whispers of a rival firm preparing to launch an offensive against his empire. A chill crept in as the stakes soared. Alex's mind raced. Is he prepared to protect it all at the expense of what was right? With Sam, he sensed an alliance sparking. Hope mingling with urgency. But shadows lurked, and questions bathed in uncertainty bubbled up. How deep did Sam's story go? What were they really fighting against? Could they trust each other amidst the chaos? Hey, before I continue with this amazing story, I have to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has deleted their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. And while you're there, leave that mighty like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As Alex contemplated Sam's story, a noise sliced through the air, a sharp, urgent clang that made them both jump. The office felt suddenly smaller, claustrophobic. From the corner of his eye, Alex saw one of his junior executives, Mike, burst through the door, eyes wide with panic. "Alex, There's a situation. The urgency in Mike's voice pulled Alex from the moment. He glanced at Sam, who looked as confused as Alex felt. What's going on? Which pulls on? Mike gasped, almost choking on the words. The headquarters of our rival firm. It's gone. They think it was sabotage. A silence fell. It was as if the air had thickened. Alex's heart raced. He felt the ground shift beneath him. Sam's expression changed. Confusion replaced with a gleam of something darker. Fear. Recognition. They say it was a targeted attack, Mike continued, stumbling over his words. The whole building. It just blew up, people are saying. They might have known it was coming. What do you mean? Alex interrupted, his voice rising with disbelief. The world outside had just imploded, yet here they were, in this room, caught in a gravity that felt surreal. They think the CEO had enemies, Mike repeated, his voice barely a whisper now. Someone wanted. Indeed, e eles tinham intel. Eles acreditam que pode ter conectado a nós. O estômago desgastou. Ele estava salto-gueocentes quando percebeu algo peculiar. Sam's olhar estava fixado na janela. Sente espera, seu libádio respira. Ora. Alice, eu quero unir. Esse uniforme flutuando passarão pela saída. O que está errado? Mike foi tremendo. Eu sei, Maior, Alex reclamou. Mas precisamos ficar lá na hora. Suddenly, o intercom teve força. A calma e a firme voz do CEO, cortando toda a tensão. Este é Alex Blake. Eu. Assure all staff. We are safe. I need you to remain calm and stay at your posts. We will handle this. Alex's hands clenched into fists. Chaos was erupting. But he felt that something deeper was at play. Sam, the quiet janitor with a past, suddenly felt vital. What if his skills were invaluable? What if he knew something? Before panic could settle, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. An explosion of glass. A figure tumbling through the doorway. It was Sam, but he was different now. He staggered in, clutching a briefcase to his chest, wild-eyed. They found me, he yelled, desperation coating his voice. I have the evidence. Alex's mind raced as he met Sam's gaze. Sam looked transformed. No longer just a man who swept floors, but someone holding pieces to a puzzle that could destroy everything Alex had built. What do you have? I can't explain now, but... Sam hesitated, glancing behind him. Fear flickered in his eyes, raw and urgent. They will come for me. They're coming for all of us. The walls of the skyscraper now felt like a cage, closing in fast. An electric pulse of fear surged through Alex, tying into a knot in his stomach. Who were they? What did Sam really know? The ground beneath them shook as another boom resonated in the distance. It wasn't just outside, it was inside. In that moment, Alex felt the world tilt precariously, questioning everything he thought he knew. Could he trust Sam? Or was this just the beginning of a deeper betrayal? The ground shook again, a vicious tremor that rattled the windows. And Sam's eyes widened. They're coming, he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Alex felt the weight of the briefcase between them, a boundary filled with unspoken danger. Suddenly, Sam dropped it to the floor. The lock sprang open, and a flurry of documents spilled out, fluttering like frantic birds. Alex's heart raced as he caught glimpses of the papers. Names, dates, dollar amounts. Evidence of corruption, deal-making that felt all too familiar. What is this? He stammered. His breath caught in a tight knot. What have you gotten into? Things are worse than you think, Sam shouted, urgency coating his words. They've been monitoring the company, planting spies, manipulating the market. Our firm, they're connected to the explosion. They want us eliminated to cover it all up. Panic clawed at Alex's insides. But how do? You know? His voice trembled, fear warping his thoughts. They don't just have eyes on the building, Sam replied, his voice lowered to a desperate whisper, drenched in dread. I used to be involved with the rival firm. I was deep in their operations, until I realized what they were doing. I wanted out. That's why I'm here. They'll do anything to silence me. And now you. A wild gasp escaped Alex's lips. This wasn't just a janitor. This was a man moving in the shadows. Dai de todas as secretas reveladas por batentes muralhas do seu império. Será que ele amava Sam? A mente se estabava. Antes de Alex conseguir fazer um plano, grito assustou da carreira. Vozes risadas, frenéticas e urgentes, passadas tombavam perto de Alex. Estão aqui, Sam, resolgava. Door flung open, revealing a group of sharply dressed men. Their faces were a mask of brutality and intent, and they surged into the room. Get down, Mike yelled, shoving Alex behind a desk as the intruders brandished weapons. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. This was madness. He peeked around the desk, watching Sam step forward. No, get back, Alex shouted, but Sam was moving like lightning, a determination fueling his every step. Where's the evidence, Sam? One of the men barked, his voice dripping with rage. I won't let you take it, Sam roared, and suddenly he lunged for the documents scattered across the floor. Time froze as the men lunged for him. The chaos erupted. Yells, gunshots, the shattering of glass. Sam grabbed the briefcase and ran for the door. But one of the men seized him, yanking him back. You're not going anywhere. Sam, Alex screamed, a visceral pain shooting through him. He reached out, but it was like watching a dream slip away. In an instant, a terrifying shout ripped through the air. What are you waiting for? Kill him. A jolt of horror washed over Alex. No, this couldn't. Before he even fully processed the command, a gunshot rang louder than thunder. Sam collapsed to the ground, the light in his eyes fading. Alex's chest felt hollow as shock consumed him. The briefcase lay open, contents spilling like secrets across the floor. Get out. Get out now. One of the men spat, and they rushed through, leaving Alex frozen, the world swirling into a vortex of disbelief. He could barely breathe, the taste of copper rising in his throat. As he knelt beside Sam, panic clawed at him. No, no, no. He fought against tears, but the weight of betrayal was heavy. What have they done? But then something caught his eye. A small piece of paper fluttered beside Sam. He reached for it, his hands trembling. It was a name that made the very foundations of his reality tremble. Genevieve Maelstrom, he read aloud, confusion battling against dread. Who is? Suddenly the briefcase buzzed, a hidden device. Alex's heart dropped. Could it be recording? Had Sam been play-acting all along? And just like that, the narrative twisted again. The shadows deepened, and a chilling thought flickered in Alex's mind. This was just the beginning. The secrets, the lies, the connections, all tangled in a web he never wanted to be. Parte. Com tremores nas mãos e o medo passando acima dele, sabia que havia que descobrir a verdade antes do consumi-lo roubo. E por mais aferridora, como a tristeza saía, guerra grande escorregava pelo Artus sobre o Império. Os é-verdades ficavam próximos aos olhos. Ênfases. Ele recolhe para papel uma nota que surge no caos dos pensamentos dele. Genevieve Maelstrom. O que significava? Mas antes dele conseguir-se mais, a voz da Mike explodiu para dentro da sala. Alex, nimbemos. The briefcase lay open, documents scattered like confetti of secrets, but there was no time to sift through them now. A stark, urgent reality pressed in. They were trapped. The men who had burst in were not just any intruders. They were shadows of betrayal, and Sam was now the first casualty. In that instant, Alex felt the weight of his empire clawing at him, heavier than ever before. "Where's the back exit?" Alex shouted, eyes darting for a way out. "Down the hall," Mike stammered, but before he could finish, the sound of shattering glass echoed again. The chaos took on a life of its own as shadows loomed closer, shouts intensifying. He pulled Mike toward the door, desperation fueling every step. But just as they reached for the handle, the office lights flickered, plunging them into darkness. Panique caiu no chão como uma criatura viva, e tudo eruptou em caos. Then veio a voz, tom tormentoso que silenciou todo o abater pânico. Procurando uma vaga de saídas andarem, Alex fresou. Se virou, olhos surgindo das suas sombras, a uma mulher com as faces impactantes, a presença consumindo a sala. Genevieve Malmstrom, disse, da adornada dos lábios. A conversa está sublime. Choque frozou Alex. E o dedo. Você foi o mastermind trás disso? Uma risa, demasiado rica, saiu pepenguida. Oh, caringo, sou mais do que isso. Todo instinto mexeu, mas Alex ofiou, empalpado. Enfim, como uma serpente ao redor delas. Você achou que poderia jogar com Penhané? Me, Alex? This little game was never just about a briefcase? Then she gestured dismissively to Sam's lifeless body. He didn't know when to keep his head down. Fear deepened into disbelief. You used him? Used? Hardly. He was an asset. A prisoner of your ignorance, she replied, her eyes gleaming with malice. And now look where you are. Suddenly, the room erupted with shouts. Lights flickered back to life, revealing chaos as more figures flooded into the office. Their figures dark and menacing. Panic tore through Alex again as he realized it wasn't just the men who had attacked them. It was an entire faction of Genevieve's accomplices. Sam's briefcase lay between them, open and beckoning. Genevieve snatched an important file off the floor, one that Alex didn't recognize but felt the gravity of. Imediatamente. Você estava pegando panela, Alex. Como é? Ele falou. Documentos têm a carta para sua demais, firmas, feitas mais firmes em Porto Alegre. É então tempo para confrontar aquele jogão. Sua mente recomeçou a máquina. Alex, a mente veio. Precisamos mover. Ele chamou, gravando Mike's arma. Correndo para dentro do artesão, o Alex corria para uma fiada. O grado dos filhos é Genevieve, que pousa até das vertentes que nunca teve existência. E agora, o que aconteceria? After all, what if Sam knew more than anyone realized? With one glance back at Genevieve, her twisted satisfaction, twisting the knife deeper, Alex understood that nothing was what it seemed. Just as he turned to flee, that dreadful name echoed in his head again. Genevieve Maelstrom. What had he set into motion? Dread coursed through him as he staggered into the hallway. He could feel the walls closing in, shadows creeping after them. What now? They couldn't just run forever. Sangue dele pulsou como doente, e cada segundo sentia que se gaste terrivelmente em consequências. O ar insultou com ele mesmo, e quando ele e Mike empurravam em caos, ele se deu conta de que não era mais lutando pela sobrevivência. Eles estavam batendo contra tudo o que ele conhecia. O que awaited them in the shadows? And was there truly a way out? In the chaos, Alex and Mike propelled themselves down the dimly lit hallway, the urgent thumping of their hearts echoing in their ears. Every shadow felt alive. Every footstep sounded like an approaching storm. Alex glanced at Mike, who wore a frantic expression. We have to find a safe place, he gasped, breathless from the panic. But just as they turned a corner, a loud thud reverberated down the hall. A figure, obscuro nas chadeiros, estalada de evidência, o coração de Alex. Era dos homens da Genevieve, com uma faca gritante, travando eles, sereno, com medo. A cara descia, pegando uma garra golfe, e pretendeu tocá-la de na fresa. Alex Mike percame. O pulso de pânico fluía. Thought flickered in his mind. This isn't good. He grabbed Mike's arm, ready to bolt in the other direction, when a voice sliced through the air like a knife. "Lower your weapon," Genevieve's voice echoed, laced with authority. She emerged from the shadows, eyes blazing, and for a moment, everything froze. The gun dropped from the man's hand, and Alex felt a mix of bewilderment and fear. "What's happening?" he murmured, confusion flooding him. Ignoring him, Genevieve advanced, the tension radiating from her. "You've made a grave mistake, Alex," she said smoothly, but there was something darker lurking behind her polished words. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the atmosphere. The ceiling above them burst open, scattering dust and debris everywhere. A cloud of gray erupted, blocking their view. Alex shielded his eyes, heart racing. For a moment, he could hardly breathe, the panic clawing at him. "Get down," Mike screamed, instinctively pushing Alex to the floor. They both hit the ground hard as more debris rained down. When the chaos settled for an instant, Alex looked up, eyes widening. A figure burst through the dust, a familiar silhouette framed against the wreckage. It was Sam, a shadow of his former self, bloodied but alive. "Sam?" Alex rasped, disbelief mingling with hope. But as the dust cleared, something shifted in Sam's expression. He wasn't just a survivor, he was transformed. A fierce determination glowed in his eyes. "I'm not finished yet," he shouted, gaze darting. The beam landed squarely on Genevieve, illuminating her shocked face. And then, before Alex could comprehend what was happening, a voice boomed from the helicopter. "Maelstrom, you're done." Everyone's head snapped toward the swirling light. Alex's heart hammered faster. Who was in the chopper? Genevieve's brow furrowed, and for the first time, she looked vulnerable. "No, they shouldn't have found me yet." "What do you mean?" Alex shouted, urgency rising within him. "Run!" Genevieve screamed, her cool facade slipping. "They're onto you too." Antes que alguém pudesse reagir, clarão de luz explodiu do lado do helicóptero. Em piscar de olhos, dardo voou no peito de Sam. Seus olhos se arregalaram. "Não!" Alex gritou, o pânico surgindo. Sam caiu ao chão, com baque pesado, olhos vidrados. "Eles sabiam. Eles estavam me rastreando o tempo todo." Ele conseguiu dizer. To say, words trailing off into silence. Alex's breath hitched as reality crumbled around him. Sam was down, Genevieve was panicking, and now someone else was out for blood. A sudden torrent of brutal truth washed over him. Sam had only pretended to be a janitor. He was vital, entwined in a web that threatened to suffocate all of them. "Why did you do this?" Alex shouted at Genevieve, fury mixing with desperation. But before she could respond, the helicopter descended closer, the rotors slicing through the air with a menacing hum. "Get your hands up, we know everything," a voice echoed from above. Alex's world spun. Were they the real enemies? As Sam lay still, the air thick with tension, Alex felt the walls closing in. Everything he thought he knew was unraveling. He watched Genevieve's apprehension morph into something more sinister. Something that felt like betrayal. "You were never supposed to see this," she hissed. And with that, Alex's reality twisted yet again. "What don't I know?" he stammered, grasping for clarity amidst the chaos. But Genevieve merely smiled, a chilling expression that left him cold. "You'll find out soon enough." Alex glanced back at Sam, desperately seeking hope. But it felt like a fading light, lost in the shadows of secrecy and manipulation. Now he was more exposed than ever, caught in a game where survival was slipping away. The truth loomed, dark and unyielding, just out of reach. What deeper secrets lay hidden in this tangled web? And who could he trust as everything spiraled into madness? As Alex knelt beside Sam, disbelief spiraled through him. The echo of gunfire still rang in his ears, and the sight of Sam's fallen form, sprawled on the floor, filled him with an icy dread. He reached for the small piece of paper, a name that swirled in the chaos of his thoughts. Genevieve Maelstrom. What did it mean? But before he could gather himself, Mike's voice exploded into the room. "Alex, we need to move." His panic cut through the haze around Alex. The briefcase lay open, documents scattered like confetti of secrets. But there was no time to sift through them now. A stark, urgent reality pressed in. They were trapped. The men who had burst in were not just any intruders. They were shadows of betrayal, and Sam was now the first casualty. In that instant, Alex felt the weight of his empire clonete, heavier como antes. "Where's the back exit?" Alex shouta, eyes dartando para jeito de escapar. "Down the hall," Mike stammered. But before he could finish, o som de glass perdendo-se, eco apareceu. O caos tomou vida pela sua mão, chamadas veneradas, shoutos intensificando. O levou pro pátio para a porta, desesperação fuiciando cada estada. Mas quando ajeitavam a luz da oficina, os olhos me evitavam. Deslumbrados, pânico se estendeu à sala como uma criatura viva, e tudo erupiu no caos. Agora vem a voz, um tom confundente e panicado, buscando o caminho para a saída. Alex ficou-se parado, olhos aventados para a figura que passava das sombras. Uma mulher com rostos afáveis. "Genevieve Maelstrom," she said, a smirk adorning her lips. "I see you've met my little friend." Shock froze Alex. "You?" he breathed. "You're the mastermind behind this?" A laugh, too rich, rang through the air as she strolled forward. "Oh, darling, I'm so much more than that." Every instinct screamed to run, but Alex watched, riveted, as Genevieve moved like a serpent around them, her heels echoing against the floor. "You thought you could play against me, Alex? This little game was never just about a briefcase." Then she gestured dismissively to Sam's lifeless body. He didn't know when to keep his head down. Fear deepened into disbelief. "You used him." "Used? Hardly. He was an asset, a prisoner of your ignorance," she replied, her eyes gleaming with malice. "And now look where you are." Suddenly, Alze rompeu a mão de sua mão, recaminha e avança para eles. Alex alto, ele precisava mover a beira. Quando eles se moviam para a baca, a mente deles zebaria com freneses. E então ele riu. Mesmo as portas deles pontava algo mais. Que a sambi-os mais do que ninguém enxergava. Com um olhar para Genevieve, a satisfação torta dela ainda mais agora me lembrou. Já quando ele se ocorreu para fugir, aquele nome eco no cabeça. Genevieve Maelstrom, conde-o. Through him as he staggered into the hallway, he could feel the walls closing in, shadows creeping after them. What now? They couldn't just run forever. Sam's death pulsed like a wound, and every second felt like it would bleed out into larger consequences. The air was thick with betrayal, and as he and Mike sprinted through the chaos, he realized that they were no longer just fighting for survival. They were battling against everything he thought he knew. Then, without warning, an explosion rocked the building. The floor beneath them trembled violently, and the walls seemed to groan in protest. Alex stumbled, the chaos knocking him off balance. Amidst the chaos, a figure emerged from the smoke. A tall man, scruffy, with a wild gleam in his eyes. He was someone Alex recognized, but... Cudente Blassi. "Alex Blake," o mano chamou, voz tunderante pelo recinto. "I've come for what's mine." "Que embostagem!" Alex shoutou, o coração chorando, a confusão se arrastando ao redor dele. Mas antes do homem responder, ele levou um dossiê de sangue da sua baca e alintou no chão com um burarrão leve, fotografias de Alex, de Sam, de Genevieve. E aí, repico, Isso não foi uma bisabenha só. Era Daniel, o estranho brother, Gon furanos. Daniel, Alex gaspou. Choque repercute no seu. O que você está fazendo aqui? O olhar de Daniel nos olhos dele, tenebroso entre aspas e uma coisa mais softa, como morrer. Você não sabe nada do que? Se, Alex filtando o pé. Beneath him cremblou a truz twist of a knife. Da companhia. Daniel pausa, tomando uma breve expirada. Está tudo conectado, como o campo de Garina. Foi o seu império que matou nós. Não! Alex gritou, mas sentia ralo, um desejo cravando sobre o peso da realidade. E naquele instante, o mundo de Alex disparou. Tudo o que acreditava, a limpeza da sua vida, sua família. Sam Storia, pois agora um sinistro de veneno. Daniel passou mais próximo, voz loa, urgente. Você tem que confiar, Alex. Você tem a final peça nesse game louco. Cada vez menos ruída, Alex sentiu uma clareza surgenciando por ele. O corpo morto se tornou um símbolo de tudo o que perdeu. They asked you hinged on a fragile web of deception. Why didn't you come sooner? Alex demanded. Fear mixing with anger, Daniel said, eyes filled with remorse. But now we don't have much time. Alex's heart raced with the reality sinking in. Could he really trust Daniel? Was this all part of Genevieve's plan? The room swirled with uncertainty, and the stakes climbed higher with every heartbeat. The revelations began weighing down on him, twisting his gut. As Genevieve's men advanced, poised to strike, Alex knew he had to decide. Was this the moment everything turns? Would he fight for the truth, buried under years of lies? And as he stood there, breathless and trembling, it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about uncovering the dark secrets that chained him to a legacy he never understood. What was left when everything you believed crumbled to dust? As Alex knelt beside Sam, disbelief spiraled through him. The echo of gunfire still rang in his ears, and the sight of Sam's fallen form sprawled on the floor filled him with icy dread. He reached for the small piece of paper, a name swirling in the chaos of his thoughts. Genevieve Malmstrom. What did it mean? But before he could gather himself, Mike's voice exploded into the room. Alex, we need to move. His panic cut through the haze around Alex. The briefcase lay open, documents scattered like confetti of secrets, but there was no time to sift through them now. A stark, urgent reality pressed in. They were trapado. Os menos que entraram não eram qualquer intrusos. E são agora foi o primeiro casal. Nessa instante, Alex sentiu o peso do seu império que pouco antes. Eles se desesperavam. O dia a princípio. Borra de sorte. A tela parapeta de caminho. E sem ainda concluir, o caos tomou ponto e ei todo o pesadelo como um ser. Ele puxa Mike para dentro da porta. A desesperação foi cada passo. Bem aquela hora que saita do repouso, as luzes das estantes ficam caindo. A pânico pegou o trabalho por eles, e a cada passo entravam em caos, e meia dúzia. Looking for a way out, gentlemen? Alex froze. He turned, eyes widening at the figure stepping from the shadows. A woman with striking features, sharp and confident, her presence consuming the room. Genevieve Malmstrom, she said, a smirk adorning her lips. I see you've met my little friend. Shock froze Alex. You? He breathed. You're the mastermind behind this? A laugh, too rich, rang through the air as she strolled forward. Oh, darling, I'm so much more than that. Every instinct screamed to run, but Alex watched, riveted, as Genevieve moved like a serpent around them, her heels echoing against the floor. You thought you could play against me, Alex? This little game was never just about a briefcase. Then She gestured dismissively to Sam's lifeless body. He didn't know when to keep his head down. Fear deepened into disbelief. You used him? Used? Hardly. He was an asset, a prisoner of your ignorance, she replied, her eyes gleaming with malice. And now look where you are. Suddenly, chaos erupted as the men she had summoned advanced toward them. Alex's mind raced. He had only moments to escape. We need to move, he shouted, grabbing Mike's arm. As they rushed for the back door, Alex's heart thundered. Was this the end? Was Genevieve really this cruel? Just then, the building shook violently, a thunderous roar reverberating through the walls. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and Alex stumbled, pulling Mike close. Stay steady, Mike yelled, but fear gripped him too. The chaos became deafening as the walls cracked. And then, in a flash, the building shuddered as if a giant hand had struck it. Run! Genevieve screamed, her cool demeanor shattering. When the dust settled, a gaping hole appeared where the wall once stood, leading to the skyline. Ghostly figures rushed through the opening. Get down! Alex yelled, ducking instinctively. In a blur of smoke and shadow, a new faction emerged, dressed in tactical gear. They burst through, weapons drawn, but it wasn't until Alex locked eyes with one of them that his breath caught in his throat. Leela? He gasped, disbelief consuming him. His sister, believed dead for years, stood among them, a fierce look in her eyes, her jaw clenched. Alex, we're here to rescue you, she shouted over the bin. Rescue me? He echoed, mind racing. So you work with them? No, I'm trying to save you, Leela exclaimed, stepping closer. You don't understand. This is bigger than any of us. No, Genevieve shrieked, the heat of panic boiling in her eyes. They can't be here. Alex was caught between two worlds, Leela's fierce gaze and Genevieve's predatory calm. As reality twisted around him, the connection to his sister felt like a lifeline, yet everything was spinning. Why don't you tell me what's really happening here? He demanded, feeling a tightness in his chest. But before Leela could respond, the ground quaked again. Dust filled the air, and shadowy figures from the building outside pointed weapons toward them. Everything spiraled. Alex, Leela started, but the urgency of the moment drowned her words. The chaos erupted anew as shots rang out. Adrenaline coursed through, screaming for survival. Amid the confusion, Genevieve's smirk faded to terror as she realized she was trapped. You fools! You'll know what you're walking into. Tell me, Alex shouted, desperation creeping into his tone. But as gunfire sparked chaos, a plunge of dread washed over him. He felt the truth slip through his fingers, shifting like sands beneath his feet. Then it clicked, a fragment of a memory, a feeling. Leela, what happened to Mom? He shouted over the noise. Did you know? Leela's face twisted in sorrow, and for one heartbeat, everything hung suspended. And then, with a sudden blast, an explosion rocked the room. Concrete rained down, cries of terror erupted, and for a moment, time froze. As the debris settled, silence washed over them, gaping eyes staring at what lay ahead. Leela vanished into the chaos, the shadows overtaking her. Leela, Alex screamed, but she was already gone. The echoes. O betrayal lingere, voando a cena como massa. Ele ficou fervendo, o coração revoltado quando os homens de Genevieve chegavam, indo ao começo da tempesta. O que mais ele perdeu, e as águas começaram a clarar. O olho da força, olha perseguindo. Em a ia da história, ele recordava-se ele bem do cinema. Doce flutuou no ar, e as chamas do sol da manhã caminharam contornos mensurados no carpete. O coração de Alex, os ecos da sua irmã, foi enfadado. Ela havia acabado de estar lá, um fantasma do passado e agora perdida em meio ao caos. Trapada. somewhere beyond the veil of calamity. "Leela," he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. "Where are you?" But the only answer came from the clatter of debris and the heavy silence that enveloped him. He felt Mike's arm tugging at him, pulling him from the shock. "We have to go. Now." The sound of heavy boots thudded closer. Genevieve's men pressed forward. Their faces were a mix of determination and malice, ready for blood. Alex pushed against the wall, searching for a clear path. Each heartbeat echoed in his ears, drowning out any hope that flickered inside him. "Back this way," Mike yelled, leading him toward the gaping hole where the wall had once stood. As they raced, Alex could see shadows moving just outside, chaotic shapes against the bright backdrop of the street. Restaligou debaixo a Genevieve, que havia se calado mal, mas como olhos que bebeu a seda. A cidade deu ouso no mop entrar de casa. Alex estambulou, pegando-se em pé em direção vir. O que agora sente uma pestaña trava bem de longe. Uma voz claramente pegou entre o vento, superado pelo vulto, racionais. O rosto de Laila. Não pode usá-la de novo. Não depois de todos os anos de silêncio. "Alex, não!" Mike gritou para pingar o braço. "Temos que ir." Mas Alex chacou a mão. Determinação queimou seu peito. Pulou-se fora e prendeu-se pela escuridão. Existe dano para as irmanias. A beast waiting to swallow him whole. And then he saw her. Leela stood in the center of the shattered office, surrounded by scattered files and broken glass, her face twisted in a grimace of rage and fear. But what struck Alex was the man beside her, Daniel, his estranged brother, now standing like a guardian, face taut with anger. "Get away from her," Alex shouted, heart pounding in his throat. But before he could reach her, the ground shook violently again. Walls cracked and alarms blared, drowning out their cries. From behind they could hear Genevieve shouting commands to her men. "Get them, now!" Then came the unexpected roar of gunfire. Bullets rained, and bodies scattered like leaves in a storm. Alex's breath hitched as he rushed forward. Leela. Daniel. But the scene unfolding before him felt warped in time, a sickening reel of chaos. It all happened in an instant. In a horrific clash, one of Genevieve's men lunged for Leela, but Daniel intercepted, tackling him to the ground. Leela screamed, her voice filled with terror. "No! Daniel!" Gathering instinct and adrenaline, Alex surged forward, but time stretched painfully. Just as he reached them, Daniel spun around, a glint of steel catching the light. The next moment felt like a jolt of lightning. Daniel held a gun. A cruel twist resurfaced, unearthing buried truths. "I'm sorry, Alex. It's too late for that." Alex froze, stomach twisting. "What are you talking about? I had no choice. They know everything. You have to understand." Daniel's hand trembled. Before Alex could respond, a loud bang erupted, and a blinding flash filled the hallway. The walls around them ripped apart, sending shockwaves that knocked them to the ground. Dust and debris filled the air. Confusion swirled like a whirlpool as he blinked against the brightness, trying to orient himself. When the dust settled, shadows reformed, and Alex's breath caught in his throat. Before him lay not just one person, but two. Two figures entangled, Daniel and Leela, caught in a deadly embrace. The gun dropped from Daniel's hand, blood seeping from a wound in Leela's side. "No, Leela!" Alex screamed, the reality crashing over him like a wave of despair. The world warped around him. His heart thundered, a deafening drum in the silence that followed. As Leela collapsed, her eyes found Alex for a fleeting moment. Something deep and heartbreaking reflected in their depths. With a small, strained smile, she mouthed, "I'm sorry." Before consciência sliptou, o tempo fechou. Todo o sentimento desapareceu. Alex sentiu o Evo sem ter o intraga de si. Daniel torcia-o como sotorro da vida. O que haveis feito? Ele gaspou, colapsou-se debaixo do braço. Confiança, amor, família. Era uma pequenina ação. Como esse pecador foi realmente? Que vê-se muito. Quem assistiu à sua frente nessa última fase, deixe a hora enriquece o doente mais cômodo. Daniel B. Daniel B. se galtou de mais pesado. Ele possuía com medo conformatar de sentimentos. Daniel conseguiu, deu boas respostas, mas desconsideravam. Daniel ficou, mesmo dentro de sua vida. Oração se picou. Não mais a vida. No entanto, a orientação desses flui todos os sentimentos. Omide tudo e des tudo. Esse cena segue. Do Gramose. Daniel perdeu. Desapareceu. O que lhe parecera, o que lhe chocava, e desses foi torcido uma vez, a fase que sempre mais me incomodava. Audie, desperation clawed at him. This was only the beginning of the darkness. The shadows gathered as he searched for understanding, but the truths only seemed to deepen the chasm. What would he do now? How could he face what lay ahead? As Alex knelt over Lila's still body, disbelief and sorrow raged within him. The world around fell silent, the chaos of gunfire still echoing in his ears. He reached for her hand, icy and lifeless. "Please, no," he whispered, tears streaming down his cheeks, choking on the weight of grief. Daniel collapsed beside her, shaking his head as if trying to wake her from a nightmare. "Lila, please," his voice cracked, raw and desperate. "I didn't mean to. I thought—" "What have you done?" Alex shouted, feeling a mix of anger and despair rise like bile in his throat. He wanted to scream, he wanted to tear the world apart. It was too much, far too much. But as he knelt there, crushed by the weight of betrayal, a distant rumble caught his attention. The ground beneath him trembled slightly, not from shock, but from an ominous vibration creeping closer. "What is that?" he murmured, glancing around. Mike stood frozen, confusion twisting his features. The rumble grew louder, pulsing through the concrete walls, vibrating with intent. Alex shot to his feet, dragging Daniel along. "We need to move," he yelled, adrenaline coursing through him. The remnants of chaos still clung to the air, intertwined with the acrid scent of smoke. Suddenly, the building shook violently, as if the very foundation were rebelling against the devastation unfolding within. Then, without warning, o fogão twistiu aberto deles. Puxaço ecoou, e em instante, o teto caiu. "Alex", Daniel chamou, gripando a mão justo em que o pisau quebrou. Mais tarde, foram em coição, planando a calça das ruas, enquanto o mundo acima desaparecia. Ele preparou para o impacto, temeu para o medo. Foram acima, até um fundo. O coração carregava, e ele gasgou-ventou. Num espaço cavernoso. Tempo duve suem, junto ao mente. Sua bentiu contra Adornoso, querendo a conseguir o bom senso. Mas então, os olhos dele cederam o ouvido. Tudo muito calmo, esmagado com as fotografias e impressões encolhidas, como subúrbis. Foi algo então, ele deu a conta na caverna. Um mundo oculto. Of his life. But at the very bottom of the folder, one piece of paper caught his eye. It was a letter, stained and fragile. Alex read the words, his breath hitching with every sentence. It unveiled a secret so devastating, he could barely comprehend it. "Alex," Daniel's voice trembled behind him as he slowly read over Alex's shoulder. "What does it say?" I don't know," Alex stammered, his world practically tilting off its axis. "It can't be true." "Let me see." Mike leaned in, eyes scanning the document, with growing horror. "Is that You can't be serious. Before Alex could respond, the ground above them erupted again. The sound was deafening. It sounded like thunder crashing against the very bones of the earth. Dust flew up, enveloping them almost completely. And with the explosion, a new figure emerged from the shadows. A woman cloaked in darkness, with fierce, piercing eyes that seemed to glow. "You shouldn't have come here," she said coolly, a twisted smirk plastered on her lips. Before they even register the shocking presence, she pulled back her hood, revealing a face that left Alex reeling. "Mom?" The word hung heavy in the air. A ghost from years past. As their eyes locked, recognition blurred the line between horror and astonishment. Everything Alex thought he knew about his family shattered like glass. He gasped, stumbling back. "But you died." "I never died, Alex," she said, voice cold and commanding. "I was always one step ahead." With those words, every truth fell apart. The ties of trust, the loyalty once held dear, everything had been a carefully construtado lie. As Alex o coração respirava, ele se questionou de choro, distantuando com a realidade da sua mãe, o seu rosto despertando por paladar adado como ele. "Não há, eu acho que você era morto e perigosas." Daniel Sedap, estepitado. "Mãe, por que isso tudo acontece?" O choque no rosto misturava a confusão de Alex. Tudo o que você pensava da nossa família e da empresa está tudo entrelaçado. Não pode deixar que vocês perdessem agora. "Crossfire," Alex sputtered, anger surging through him. "You've been playing us. You let us think you were gone, just to stay in hiding." She took a step forward, desperation creeping into her demeanor. "I did it to protect you. I thought by staying away, I could keep you safe. But now, it's all unraveling." The walls reverberated again, as if even the building was shaking under the weight of these revelations. Dust drifted lazily around them, thickening the air, suffocating any remaining hope. "Leela," Alex whispered, pain twisting in his gut. She needed him, and instead, they were entangled in this nightmare. "We have to move," Mike shouted again, panic spreading in his voice. "Genevieve won't let us go easily." Daniel's eyes darted wildly, filled with urgency. "We can't stay here. We won't make it." Alex turned, the fear threatening to close in. "You were supposed to be a family, together through everything." He met his mother's gaze, searching for an answer. All he found was the shadows of decisions that had haunted her. "I'm sorry, Alex. I never wanted it to end this way." Her voice quaked, a tremor revealing the cracks in her strong exterior. "But if we don't act now, we'll lose everything." Without another word, they rushed deeper into the hidden storage area. Tensão foi teta quando eles encontraram desfile. Alex, lutando para saber as coisas, eram tapas da família, tendendo com remos do imperialismo e de fundo rancor. Sudamente, o prédio inteiro chacou. Mais alto dessa vez. Dust and plaster fell, blinding them momentarily. "We have to get out," Alex yelled, instinctively reaching for both Daniel and his mother. Together, they advanced toward a narrow exit, adrenaline pounding in their veins. Just as they broke through the doorway, they burst back into the chaos of the office space, the echoes of voices and shouts mixing with the sound of gunfire inches away. "Now!" Daniel shouted, urgency spilling from his lips. They sprinted toward the exit, Alex's heart hammering. As they crashed onto the bustling street outside, chaos followed. People shouted, running away from the building as it began to crumble behind them. "What do we do now?" Mike gasped, breathless. "Get to safety," Alex urged, his pulse racing with the weight of leadership. But as they forged ahead, Alex caught a glimpse of Genevieve estando na intrâmpito, fúria e malícia boilando em teus olhos. Com a sua voz xingando no chão, ela chamou. "Isso não está terminado. Você não pode escapar do passado." Alex virou,
Bate-nos, contestou, não só para ela, mas para Lila, toda a pessoa pegada nesta festa. As inesboides, sombras fedeu. Mas importa, a verdade estava deserta. Tem coisas desperdiçadas e secretos. O caminho à avenida estava às incerteza, unidos contra a escuridão. Eles pausaram, respirando muito a arder. Há meio sirenes à alta. O que agora? Daniel perguntou, olhando para Alex por parte da mãe deles o posto. Determinação imersa, mas não sabia. Feliz desejo.
Way, together, and as they disappeared into the thrumming heart of the city, they carried the ghosts of the past, but with a flicker of hope. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, they were ready to face whatever came next. This is where the story grows. It's time for you to show your support. You need to immediately subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about this finale. Your engagement makes a difference. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know about this final chapter. Don't wait 1 second longer to get involved. Only true fans understand the power of community.